Right, you could begin now.
Okay. So hi everyone, good evening. Um, my name is Liana Ali, and me and my partner Joanne Thomas will be presenting on today's topic, understanding others. So here we have the chapter overview, exploring some characteristics of gender, ethnicity, and culture, exploring leadership processes, including communication, conflict resolution, and decision making that influence diverse approaches, as well as conclude with communication skills such as empathy, which is useful in working effectively with others in leadership. And that is what we are going to cover this evening. So, starting off with individuality and communality, um, Joanne is supposed to start us off.
I'm here.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. And we'll start on understanding others. So, my first question is, how well do we understand others? And basically, everyone is different. We all know that. So, you all hearing me, right? Anybody hearing me?
Yes, yes, we're all
Yeah.
hearing you.
All right. So, we all know that some people are more easily stressed or upset than others, and different people enjoy different kinds of music or activities. I'm well aware that there are things like going I enjoy doing, like going to the movies, touring different countries, etc. That not everyone would find fun. But it's hard to actually imagine that someone else's internal life could completely be different from yours. Think of a time when a friend told you she was feeling sad, stressed, or unmotivated. If you felt you were able to understand what she was feeling even a bit, it was likely by mapping it onto one of your own experiences. This brings us to our first point, which is individuality. What is individuality? So individuality is included in your DNA, your way of being, your character, yourself as an individual. Therefore, everyone should be able to live their life accordingly. It also means to follow one's desires, and it is eventually an important part of maintaining one's identity. As such, one is not forced to live in a certain way or to fit in society. So individuality refers to the characteristics that makes a person unique and refers to only one person. Your identities affect your lived experiences, your perspectives, and the opportunities made available to you. Factors like my cultural heritage or how I grew up, the color of my skin, and the way I think. For example, your particular religion and your relationship. Give me 1 second, please. Your religion to it, for example, your particular religion and your relationship to it can impact the way you think about your sexuality, making your experience different from someone else's. Commonality refers to the sharing of interests, experiences, or other characteristics with someone or something. You could go on, Liana. Another term, gender diversity. Gender diversity, how does understanding gender diversity, how does my experience as a man or woman shape the worldview of others? So diversity is an essential aspect of society, and having the right attitude towards learning and knowing about it is important, especially with working with others and holding a leadership position. Gender diversity is about acknowledging and respecting that there are many ways to identify outside of the binary of male and female. Presenting as gender diverse is not about attention seeking or receiving special treatment. It is about being one's authentic self. There is not a need for people to know about every gender identity out there. What is more important is that people respect those who are gender diverse and the choices they make about their life. Using the correct names and pronouns for gender diverse people as well as gender neutral language are reasonable expectations that are inclusive to gender diverse people. In the workplace, gender roles, okay, another term, gender role discrimination. Gender role discrimination is acting or being different from conventional paradigms. In the workplace, gender roles are often limiting and inaccurate when assigned to individuals, men and women. Throughout history, men have always been seen as dominant and women are seen to be subsidiary. Both men and women are capable of holding leadership positions, making good decisions, being responsible group members, and communicating with clarity, but they may go about doing those things differently. Men and women tend to hold different attributions for their successes and failures. Both men and women are capable of holding leadership positions, making good decisions, being responsible group members, and communicating with clarity. But they may go about doing those things differently. Due to the globalization and changes in economic and social conditions, the role and self-perception is dramatically changing. Stedham and Yamamura, 2004. The appearance of women in formerly all-male occupation contributes to the dramatic cultural change. Given these trends, there are increasing similarities in the management styles of women and men. Gender roles are often limiting and inaccurate when assigned to individual men and women. For example, although only women can bear children, women are not the only sex to be nurturing of children. Historically, men's involvement in the development of children has been limited because that role has been considered feminine and nurturing. Likewise, women may be athletic, but it has been hard for women to engage in sports that require high physical contact, like football and rugby, because those sports are considered masculine. Women who are nurturing or men who are not athletic may suffer from gender role discrimination by acting or being different from conventional paradigms. Yeah. To understand how men and women have come to be as they are, we can learn from children's development. The way we play in childhood establishments establishes patterns of how we work and communicate as adults. Boys often play outside in rough and tumble games, and extrovert leaders shout commands in competitive settings. Winning or losing becomes very important. Girls, however, often played inside in a calm setting with one another or with a small group of friends. Their play stresses intimacy and values social relationships. Many of their preferred games have no winners or losers, but every person gets a turn. You could go ahead. Understanding cultural diversity. Cultural diversity is important because our workplace and schools consist of various cultures, racial and ethnic groups. Learning about other cultures will help us understand different perspectives within the world in which we live. Cultural diversity helps us recognize and respect ways of being that are not necessarily our own. So as we interact with others, we can build good relationship and respect and understand across cultures. Cultural diversity supports the idea that every person can make a unique and positive contribution to the larger society. Behave good. It, culture is It is a broad term that can be applied to an office or a campus, to aging, or to a group of people who share a common race or ethnicity. Many cultures coexist simultaneously in any group. Effective leaders, however, need to develop an appreciation for multiculturalism to build inclusiveness, collaboration, and common purposes. A leader's circumstances and skill permits him or her to respond to different individual cultural patterns. He will be able to create genuinely intrinsic interest in the work that he's charged with getting done. Our next point, understanding international diversity. Understanding how to work with persons from other countries is even more complex, but can be an exciting and rewarding experience. International diversity perspectives can inspire creativity and drive innovation. Multiple voices, perspectives, and personalities bouncing off one another can give rise to out of the box thinking. Being able to work with people from other nations and countries and realizing that they are different than you can help you understand them better and work with them more effectively. Operating a platform to offer and exchange ideas businesses can reap the biggest benefits. Leaders must increase their capabilities to manage the complexity of diverse people, understand and respect their differences, and be ready for opportunities and challenges. You can go ahead, Leanne. Understanding cultural heritage. Knowing who you are and where you came from, as well as understanding how you acquire the values and beliefs of your ethnicity and culture. Cultural heritage also produces representation of value systems, beliefs, traditions, and lifestyles. Cultural heritage has not only manifested through tangible forms but also through intangible forms, which include voices, values, traditions, etc. Knowing who you are and where you came from, as well as understanding how you acquire the values and beliefs of your ethnicity and culture. You should be able to learn and gain knowledge of other cultures and different heritage groups. Familiarize yourself with heritage to understand how you acquire the values and beliefs of your ethnicity and culture. By doing this, you will be able to understand others and their own beliefs and values. Also, being a leader who can bring diversity to the group requires that we know more about developing an openness and appreciation of various cultures and aspects of how others may differ. Leona?
Yeah.
And here we have a picture of the heritage cycle where we start from enjoying to understanding to valuing and to caring. From enjoying comes the thirst to understand. By understanding, they will value it, and by valuing it, they will want to care for it. And last, caring, it will help people enjoy it. I'll pass you on over to Liana now.
All right, I'll be continuing. Cultural influences on leadership. So here we just have a few points. Cultures often have very different notations and perceptions about the behaviors that contribute to outstanding leadership. It shows the aspects of diversity as sex, race, ethnicity, age, sexual identity, religion, ability, and socioeconomic status that influence our own behavior and that of others in groups is a step toward being an effective relational leader. Also, behaviors grow from a complex interaction of many salient background factors. It is more useful to observe people's behaviors and seek to understand their attitudes that to presume differences among people that are based on stereotypes. So basically, cultures is one of many external variations in which we must be enthusiastically engaged. It is an area that requires personal reflection related to one's own cultural heritage and influences. As in all areas of leadership, successful interactions with others begins with acceptance of self. Having cultural intelligence is also necessary when working amongst others and holding a leadership position. It will help us to become more benevolent in how we view those who see the world differently from us. Attitudes towards changes, how we view others who are different from ourselves, is complex. There's some evidence that this is a developmental or sequential process during which we move from complete unawareness as a child to some degree of acceptance or appreciation as a mature adult. Our attitude towards people who are different from us matters as it affects our interactions with people in a diverse society. So, psychologists define attitudes as a learned tendency to evaluate things in a certain way. This can include evaluations of people, issues, objects, or events. Some evaluations are often positive or negative, but they can also be uncertain at times. Different people may hold attitudes toward the same attitude object for different reasons. For example, some people vote for politicians because they like their policies, whereas others vote for or against politicians because they just like or dislike their public persona. While understanding others comes with diversity and is an essential aspect of society, and having the right attitude towards learning and knowing about it is important. Conflict resolution. Conflict is inevitable while working with others. Almost any change efforts will involve some degree of conflict. However, conflict resolution is a critical aspect of relational leadership. Individuals all have their different ways of dealing with conflicts, and there are different types of conflict resolutions. So, our ability to understand, communicate, and influence others depends on a large part on having a very good understanding of ourselves, how we prefer to interact and relate with others, our interpersonal strengths, what motivates or demotivates us, and what actually happens to us when we are under conflict or stress. So, understanding our strengths, our limitations, and ourselves, we can effectively deal with conflicts. Effective leadership, strong communication, and a common core culture that includes, to some extent, a shared organizational identity and assumptions about mission, strategy, and goals. Decision making. Strong decision making is a valuable skill when working with others because it empowers others to make mindful choices that has the chance to be a favorable outcome. With decision making, relational leadership requires communication skills that will help each person seek to understand others, not just persuade them. Decision makers must evaluate risks and opportunities and make a commitment to achieve goals. Facing high pressure, complex circumstances, opportunity deadlines, too much or too little or conflicting information is the reality of being a leader. Decision making can be complex, but with simple steps, we can make the best decision possible. So here we have a little diagram of a decision making process where we identify the problem, we come up with ideas, we identify pros and cons, decide on the alternative that minimizes risk and cost and maximizes benefits, ensure the decision is implemented correctly, and use feedback and learning and improvements. Leadership and communication. When understanding others, communication is key. Being able to understand different types of people and using communication skills to get through to them. It is vital to develop better understanding qualities so that you can make fruitful conversation and build good relationships amongst others. According to many researchers, a leader is one who has an ability to take charge, direct, encourage, or stimulate others. They have an attitude to convince others and to make them follow their goals or the principles defined by them. Being able to understand how different types of people communicate from learning about the different aspects we just spoke about will need to have very good communication skills. It is vital to develop better understanding qualities so that you can make fruitful conversations as well as productive behavior when working with others. Good communication skills will help to develop better understanding and beliefs among the people, inspire them to follow the principles and values which their leader wants to inculcate in them. Each has a right to make a request to ask a question, and the recipient has the right to make his or her own decision without apology. Effective and accurate communication acts as an important factor to grow as an efficient and successful leader. And lastly, we have the relational leadership. Empathy is an essential skill that a leader will need when communicating, which is also connected to the capability of understanding and listening to others. Relational empathy goes beyond merely understanding another, in which the emphasis is upon the recreation in the listener of the meaning originally created by the speaker. So you cannot develop a sense of empathy without clearly understanding the views of others. It is essential to divert the focus on what others feel and think if you want to lead effectively. If you are able to see yourself understanding the experiences of others from their point of view, imagining how they feel, and connecting with the emotions others are experiencing when they communicate. This means you are trying to see others as they would want you to see them and becoming able to understand what others are feeling without being told directly. So here we have a little quote: empathy is an essential leadership skill and there's nothing soft about it. So in conclusion, truly understanding the influences of our cultural heritage, gender, and aspects of our difference helps us to work together towards change. We usually find we are more alike than we are different. Expecting commonalities, goodwill, and shared purposes can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. This awareness helps us to create a third new culture in any group. And lastly, we have a quote from Oprah Winfrey which says, leadership is about empathy. It is about having the ability to relate to and connect with people for the purpose of inspiring and empowering their lives. And that is the end of our presentation.
All right, thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask? Anybody? All right. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording now, okay?